brand. And
on top of that, he was nicknamed very quickly, and this may come as a shock to him, Gunkard Stern. That was his name. And we called him Gunky.
Radio Gunk.
I think he's on the Rhythm Nation tour.
Radio Gunk.
Greetings, everyone.
hi, everyone. So welcome to another edition of Radio Gunk. And today I'm going to be doing a one-on-one with a guy who's kind of become a friend of mine, which is why I really never asked him to be on the show, just because it's more fun to have him as a personal friend as opposed to being somebody that's on with me at any given time. So, hi, Richie.
Hello, and thank you for having me on, and thank you for never asking me to be on, and I don't mean that in a bad way. Like, you respected our friendship, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, and so Richie and I, just full disclosure, we've gone to lunch together. I went to his amazing restaurant, Giggle Waters, which is just a phenomenal place. How's business? How's everything going?
It's still doing incredible, and during this pandemic, we're still on, an hour wait time on the weekends, and I just found out that we won a massive award that will be announced October 3rd. But
Really?
yeah, last year we won 6 of the biggest awards, and they actually had to hire an outside auditor to make sure we didn't hack in to rig it. And this year we're taking home 5 awards, and one of them is like a massive, massive award. So I'm pleased with everything.
I'm amazed. And your food is amazing. Your drinks are phenomenal. Like, everything about it is just so well done. And in a time of COVID, for you to be able to, still have like a really, really good draw to the restaurant is really just a testament to your ability to, if you build it, they will come-ism in terms of how it's run.
I mean, the main part is why I think we're successful is I stay away from there, and Rachel runs it. I'm dead fucking serious. I stay out of there. I really do. I steer clear. I come up with the ideas and stuff, but then other than that, I avoid interaction. So that's why it's doing so well.
Are you guys still doing shins? I haven't really seen any like tweets about it or anything lately. I was just curious.
Yes, because actually in October, they will be made in America for the first time. So,
oh, nice.
Yeah. Last year, we had over 1 billion Facebook impressions. It was in People, Redbook, Good Housekeeping. There was just a swarm of it last year. Like, it went super viral. Redbook said, I broke the internet for the month of March.
Amazing.
It was in the Daily Mirror in UK. So now that they're made in America, hopefully it'll pick up again.
So how does that affect profit margins on something like that when you move to Made in America? Just curious.
When we first started to do it, I initially told Cuban, I need 50 grand. I didn't know what I needed. I made up a number.
Yeah.
And we tried to get a company in America, and the guy in Jersey laughed at me, and he said, I won't speak to you for under $2 million.
Really?
Yeah. So that's when I understood why products go overseas, because I got the 50 grand investment from someone who's become a dear friend, and I had a factory in China and employees in China and all that stuff for the under 50 grand. And I get why people go overseas.
Of course, bigger, better, faster, and cheaper. I mean, that's the mantra that we always use in Garment Center also.
Those people who shit on me, no pun intended, are now coming back. So, after they saw the People magazine article and all the other stuff, now they're coming back and they want to do it.
All right. So wait, when will that be as of?
I believe in October we'll be able to like have them in ready to go out.
Amazing. I'm so proud of you. And that brings me to my topic of conversation that we wanted to discuss today. And we're just kind of talking about so many rumors that are going on outside in the Howard Stern rumor mill. So I wanted your opinion on some of the things that we've been hearing out there. And, just again, everything that we're talking about right now is completely opinion driven. And it is just our discussion about what we feel is happening in the Stern world. So a couple of weeks ago, there
So hold
was,
on 1 second.
yeah,
Full
go ahead.
disclosure, I don't listen. I know nothing. So, you're a friend. You're asking me my opinion, and I'm just going to give you what I know. I don't know shit unless somebody writes me on Twitter. I don't know anything. I even got rid of Facebook, so I don't know anything.
I know, it's so funny. Sometimes when people write things on Twitter and like Richie and I will PM each other and say, is this true? And he'll be like, how the fuck should I know? I haven't listened to the fucking show in months. It sounds like it might be, but I don't know. And we have like this little text grouping of people that just, we just love to speculate and talk about shit that may or may not be true. But you know what? I think he is coming to the end of a contract, and I think that there actually might be some upheaval in the next couple of months. I fully believe that. I don't know, but I believe it. So I wanted to read this to you from a back office employee, and I kind of wanted your thoughts. So let's kind of go through it like piece by piece here. A friend of mine works on the show, and he told me to post what I wanted, but to keep him under wraps. So who even knows who the fuck if this is true or not. Okay, Brent was asked not to come back and settled for a $25,000 severance package. So thoughts?
Okay. Years ago, as soon as he got the job on the show, he blocked me on all forms of social media when I called him a poser. I called him a poser about something, and he blocked me on everything. So I heard, for the last time we spoke, I heard there was like an upheaval with him and he's gone from the show. I would bet to say that that's true if they made him sign something that for 25 grand, he can't talk about anything that went on or why he was dismissed. But knowing the way severance packages work, if it's for 25 grand, he probably walked away with 12 because they take out taxes in one lump sum.
That's exactly right.
So it's probably not a lot.
Yeah,
I do believe that probably happened.
Yeah, I think that happened as well. I think he definitely had to sign an NDA, not too dissimilar to what happened with Scott Salem, where he was unceremoniously let go. And he then hired legal representation to see if they could get him a better severance package before he signed any NDAs. So
yeah, I'm not sure Brent got legal representation. If it's the show the way I know it, they probably said take it or leave it. You'll get nothing, and you'll be like, everybody will know why you got fired or let go, or just take the severance and walk away, and that's it.
Yeah, and he's not been mentioned once since they let him go. Not once.
And trust me, I know severances. When you think you're getting 25 grand, you're like, okay, that will last me X amount of months. But when you get that check and taxes are taken out in one big lump chunk, because normally, if you get a severance, you're like, okay, pay me in 6 months, X amount of dollars like a salary, and I could live off that. No, they give you that one lump check, and they take out that big chunk of taxes, and it bites you in the ass.
Absolutely. So yeah, I think at best he made like $12,000-$15,000 off of this deal, signed an NDA, and he still completely insists that it was mutual, and that's why he was let go. But I heard really, really bad rumors about what actually went on in California when they were out there, and yeah, so now he's living. Do you think it's weird, though, that he wouldn't get together with Bubba again and try and do a show again? Or is Bubba so fucked up that who wants to be near him?
I heard there was actually a newspaper article that said Bubba was living in his mother's house or something about a couple of years ago. I don't know if it's true, if it was true or not, but maybe at this point it's just better that they both stay away from each other. If they're two volatile personalities at this point, maybe it's better they stay away.
Yeah, I think they're probably a little bit toxic with each other. And I've never really been a Bubba listener, nor do I care to be. But, Brent was always the butt of every stupid joke that they did. He was like shooting fish in a barrel. He was so gullible, yet thinks he's so fucking smart. And it's always very curious to me why Howard would bring somebody like a Brent onto the show, unless it was that he needed a foil. He needed a new person to basically be able to pick on. And I don't think that kind of worked out.
Howard's a fantastic ringmaster. So if he saw something there, not even a talent, if he saw something there that he could bring in as a foil, he'll do it. But if I remember correctly, in the serious days, didn't Brent have a hysterical crying like meltdown on the air?
So that was on Brent's show, and what happened was they were doing a drinking show of some sort, and they started beating the shit out of Brent basically, and he he wound up leaving, going into the bathroom, curled in the fetal position and hysterical crying, and of course they were all on air laughing hysterically about it until they send somebody into the bathroom so that they could record him crying, and he is literally mewling in the corner, just fucking mewling. And they removed that from all forms of social media. I'm sure I have it somewhere. But it was just really kind of pathetic. Like, he comes off as a very sad and pathetic character. And he hates me.
So then why would the most powerful and well-known and, organized radio show in the world bring that person on board if they're clearly not stable to handle a Florida, small Florida radio show?
Yeah, I know. It's a very curious thing. When he left the Bubba show, he went out to California, and I heard that he moved in with like Sam Simon for a little while, and then he joined this weird kind of cult-ish, almost like Getting Things Done type of group out there, and then became producer for somebody's show. I can't remember whose, and then came back to New York. So, yeah, stick to Twitch, Brent. I don't think there's really anything else you can do at this point. All right, I'm going to the next one.
Cost alone, the financial aspect alone of moving to moving to California for a brief stint, and then moving to New York for a brief stint, that alone has to be like financially draining.
Oh my God, just the move alone is ridiculous. And you know the way it is in New York. It's like first month, last month, and you need to be making 40 times the rent in order to even get approved for the apartment. And people don't seem to realize that in New York.
Unless some companies are willing to pay for your move. But I don't see Sirius being willing to do that.
No, I agree. All right, we're going to move on. Howard has 2 phones, personal and company. Personal phone has like 5 people in it. Company phone gets forwarded to Marcy, and she handles who talks to Howard.
Absolutely. Absolutely, I believe that.
Yeah, I was told something interesting the other day that Marcy is actually the only employee in the entirety of the Sirius grouping that is his employee and not Sirius's employee. What do you think?
Not even Ralph?
Okay, sorry, not including Ralph.
Like, isn't it like that whole 112 Inc.? Like Tony, yes. Ralph, and yeah.
Beth is part of the 501k 401k program.
Okay.
So yeah, Marcy is his employee, and I think that if Howard leaves at the end of the year this year, that Marcy will go with him.
That explains why she gets to bang employees and not get fired from Sirius or deal with HR.
And then marry one and get pregnant and have her job retained for her.
No, pregnant?
Oh, she was pregnant last year or the year before. I remember she was having a baby. Okay, next. Howard is done after this year and has told most of his employees, but the people who Sirius employs will be put to work in different aspects. Okay, period. Then, and this we'll discuss as well, Sal and Richard are in talks for their own show. So, yeah.
Okay. I think, personally, I don't know. Is he doing his usual shtick where he like complains and does his contract negotiations on the air and all that stuff?
I have a little bit of a clip that we can listen to about what his feelings were. We actually did a show on it yesterday, and I will go there.
Normally there's a 6-month buildup of contract negotiation talk. You know what I mean? If there hasn't been any left and there's only like what, 15, 20 shows left, then I don't think he's coming back.
Yeah, I agree. I think that this is kind of like a pivotal time for him. So here, let's listen to a little bit of yesterday's show so that you can hear what he was kind of talking about. Here we go.
Hey, Tom. Tom in Ohio. Oh, yeah. We'll see what happens with that boat. There's going to be a fucking civil war in this country. Yes, Tom.
I got to build a basement.
Hey, Howard, how are you?
You better build a basement or come over here.
I've got to go and start digging.
Trust me. I'm ready.
You got a basement.
I got a basement.
Your canned food or whatever you got in there.
I got 5 years worth of canned food here. And any fucker who tries to come here and get it is going to be in big trouble. Hey, Tom, what's up?
Hey, Howard, I'm in and out of the show, so I apologize if this has been addressed already, but I was just wondering if with Shuli's move to Alabama, is that indicative of you not re-upping when your contract is over?
Let's talk about Shuli moving to fucking Alabama for a second, though.
Okay. You know what? It's weird hearing their voices again.
Really? Has it been that long that you haven't really listened at all?
7, 8 years? Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
It's
Wow.
weird. It's weird hearing that banter.
Yeah, it must be. That's kind of like a weird thing. And nothing you've missed, obviously. So it doesn't even really matter. But yeah, so what do you think about Shuli moving to Alabama?
Okay, I heard about that on Twitter, and that came up in our little PM conversation. You do what you got to do for your family. You know what I mean? And anybody who shits on him for that is an asshole.
Yeah, but Alabama?
Does she have family in Alabama?
You know what? I don't know enough about it. The word on the street was that he was she couldn't take him anymore. He was basically sitting around playing fucking video games all day. He's not even part of doing a lot of the whack pack wrangling anymore. They leave that to Wolfie. And so apparently she had it, and I guess was going to, was looking down there. She must have people. Nobody moves to Alabama willingly. And he followed her down there because he was trying to save his marriage. This is what I hear.
If it's for family, you do what you have to do. I can't blame him for that at all. I would go to the ends of the earth for my kids. And if I did something and Rachel was pissed off and took off with the kids, you could bet your ass I'll be, even if the marriage can't be salvaged, I want to be near my kids. Because I've heard too many nightmare stories from fathers who are even a few hours away from their kids, and it's a nightmare. And so I would never want to go through that.
Yeah, of course it is. What do you think about Shuli, though, as a general rule? I kind of feel like I don't trust him. I think that he's always been a little bit manipulative and kind of has a seedy underbelly to his ability to be on that show.
I'll tell you this. A few years ago, when all those leaks started coming out online, and Gary was, I know for a fact, blaming me for being the leak, which is stupid because the leak is coming from his internal people. So I'm not.
You're talking about the Pelican brief?
No, even before that, there were all these things that were happening behind the scenes that were getting out online and on Twitter about, you have to wear collared shirts. You have to have a special sippy cup. All these bullshit stories were getting out online. And I know Gary emailed Doug and was like, why is Richie telling everybody? And it's not me. I kind of know who it was. And, Doug, I think, told Gary, well, ask him yourself, just.
Right.
But at that time, I got a weird phone call. I remember it vividly. I was sitting in my backyard, and all of a sudden the phone rang, and it was Shuli. And I was like, okay, this is weird. I haven't spoken to anybody except, Ronnie and Richard. So this is weird. And I picked it up, and I got the vibe he was recording me.
Really?
He was yeah. He may not have been. It just may have been, my dopey paranoia, or I just didn't think. I thought it was odd he was calling. And I really got the vibe he was calling me because they were he was asking just questions, fishing for things about leaks. And then all of a sudden it was hey, I'm going to be down there in a month. Can you give me a drive to Wendy the retard's house and stuff like that? And yeah. And it felt weird, and I just didn't trust it. So I went with my gut on that call. You know what I mean?
You didn't wind up doing that, did you?
Oh, no. No, I really felt like I was being recorded because the question just seemed like he was fishing for something.
And you didn't give him anything, obviously.
No, I didn't know anything. I told him what I knew. I goofed on Marcy because if he was recording me, I'm glad he got that on tape. But regarding the leaks and stuff, I knew nothing about it. The only person down here who I met up with and I harassed was Bobo.
So, what's the story with a Bobo? I mean, I have no interest in him at all.
My father-in-law he used to live in Orlando, and so did Bobo. And so I messed with Bobo one day, and I was like, "Hey, I'm going to be at this one place if you want to meet up." And then he immediately texts. He goes, "I'm mobile. I'm in the car. And I wasn't there. And then like 10 minutes later, I would text, and I was like, "Oh, I had to leave. I'm at this place now." And he would go, I'm mobile. I'll be right there." And meanwhile, I'm sitting in my father-in-law's yard drinking a scotch, and I was just like, "Oh, I'm going to this mall instead." And he's like, I'm coming. And I was never there, but I felt bad. And a week later, I took him to breakfast. We met up, and we actually had a nice time.
Oh, that's so delicious. That's so delicious. You know, I fear that like the Bobos and Mariannes of the world are going to be absolutely fucking lost if this guy leaves in December. Like they're just not going to have a something to grab onto that makes them feel relevant anymore. You know?
I get it. I mean, it's been a part of their life for
forever,
20, 30 years. It's for a third of their life or half their life. It's a long time. And for something to be like yanked away or taken away. I mean, Christ, Bobo snuck into the delivery room when Allison was having a baby. I mean, come on.
The worst part about it, though, to me, is that Howard absolutely will not give a fuck about what happens to them once he's gone. Like,
no, of course not.
They'll just be gone, persona non grata, that's it.
I mean, look at Howard TV. We're proof of that.
Yeah, no kidding. Never mentioned again on air. Never, ever, ever. Oh, I know this is like a total segue, and I wanted to listen to this Howard resigning thing, but what do you think about Stuttering John's lawsuit?
I think, I'll tell you this, I checked with every office manager that was there, and I was there for Laura, Anne-Marie, Tracy. There was a different Laura that was there briefly. I didn't check in with her, but we never signed a blanket release. We never signed anything. That I know for a fact. So he could have a point.
So I mean, you're in like TV, and my friend Xavier, who runs the forum for me, also in a capacity is in TV production and such. And he's like, you know what, there's never a time where, even if there's a chance that I might be filmed, that I don't sign a fucking release. Every time, every single time, time after time. Like it's never not done. And so it's kind of weird to me. And I do feel like he has a case. I think that, when you start out as an intern and, you're making no kind of money, and then at best you're making $30,000, $40,000, and you become a primary factor to a incredibly popular show, and you're being filmed and or recorded, I have to believe that there are some rights that you maintain for your own visual, your own property. Or am I wrong?
Yeah, I signed a release first time I was ever on the air, and that was it. That was the only thing I ever signed. Now, because I work behind the scenes, it may be, looked at as that's part of your job. You're going to be on camera. And then when you get called into the studio, like when Rachel and I had our, on-air issues discussed about on the air, that's not part of being behind the scenes anymore. Right. So that's where it goes from one area to another area. So I think John has a legit gripe.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially if it's a subscription-based thing. So he's clearly profiting off people wanting to listen to Stuttering John's old interviews.
Yeah, but don't forget that Howard no longer owns them. So this is like totally a serious thing. Yeah. Howard sold all his old shows.
I think John has a legit gripe. And also, if you remember, oh God, when Lisa G wanted to be paid for Howard TV to tape her,
right?
She was beaten down on the air, like brutalized verbally for a while, and then she was ostracized. So there's a case there that if you're not giving up your image and your rights to be a part of the show, that then you're in a hostile work environment.
Yeah.
So So and John wasn't hired as talent.
Well, none of them were. Grillo, Casey, I mean, none of that crew of people were hired at, the only on-air talent really was like Robin, Fred, maybe Benji, and Howard. I mean, that's really it.
But the hard thing is, for the drug addict, hey, I can't shit on it. I was part of it too. That camera, that carrot's dangled. Well, you get to be on camera, you get to be on the show, you get to be on the most popular radio show of all time, and do you knowingly know that you're going in there with cameras on you? And then are you therefore like giving up your rights? But I've also heard any release you sign doesn't really hold up.
Doesn't hold up. I agree.
There's been instances where girls came on the show, did something, even though they signed a release, they regretted it and they fought it, and shit never aired. So I know that they don't really hold up.
And I know, like the interim beauty pageants, there were some girls on that after, in hindsight, were like, okay, I don't like this type of misogynistic exposure. And
I'm still friends with an intern from way back then, and her and I, we'll shoot each other messages once in a while to keep. I'm friends with actually two of them, and one of them is really bothered now by the stuff that she endured back then. She's really, really bothered by it.
Yeah, I mean, you have a bunch of horny guys in a room with just you, and again, Robin being used as the all-encompassing black and woman person that's in the room. So you kind of, she's like the Ghislaine Maxwell of the fucking Howard Stern show. People get a pass because she's the one that's in there. And, they'd have them stripped down to their bikinis and scream at them, take it off and shit like that. And, I'm not necessarily sure that's what interns sign up for when you go onto a show like that. And as much as we've tried, God knows, Radio Gunk has tried so often and so hard to, help cancel Howard Stern, but it just doesn't work. And, I don't even know that it's necessarily that he's Teflon. I just think that nobody cares, When
I spoke to this intern, it wasn't so much. Well, I know she told me that an employee there really offended her. She wouldn't tell me who, and her and I are very friendly and close. And she was really bothered by the questions for the intern beauty pageant because they were so invasive. They really got personal, and she didn't like that.
And they're kids. I mean, we're interns, right? So you're college. So, when I was an intern, I was like 17, 18, 19. So you're kind of exploiting teenagers almost. It's just a weird thing to me. And I think those kind of shows will never see the light of day again.
And back in those days, when Howard was at his pinnacle, that's like you get to be the roadie for Metallica. You're part of the biggest show ever. And of course, you're going to get blinded by a lot of things. You're going to say things. I mean, look, High Pitch Mike has a good case. You know what I mean? With the way he was treated.
What do you think about High Pitch Mike? I keep thinking to myself that I'll reach out to him and have him come on the show because we did like an Artie High Pitch Mike fight thing, or I think it was High Pitch Mike Goes to Disney, which is fucking hysterical. I mean, it's back when the show was amazing. But I think he did get fucked with. I think he did get kind of shafted from the show.
No pun intended. Even when he was in the intern beauty pageant, like he was the only male in the intern beauty pageant in his little pleather outfit, and he was. It was. If you look back, it's cringeworthy.
Yeah, but the problem is the statute of limitations on this stuff, and the time to have really attacked it was prior to him being able to sell all of this content to Sirius. Because now Sirius will be like, well, fuck you. We don't care. We just won't air it. That's it.
But I could see those guys being so spiteful that instead of, let's say, $100,000 settlement, they'd rather spend $500,000 hiring editors to take everything out.
Yeah, say fuck you. We're taking it out. We'll delete you from everything that has ever been. And you know what? They delete Artie all the time. That's why I've been kind of like highlighting Artie lately. Is just because so much of him is gone now from Sternthology and things like that. Not that I listen to that. I got to be honest with you. They don't even go back past like 6 years if they can help it. You know, they'll do interviews with Harry Styles. Like anybody gives a rat's ass about him. Today he
Who's
had on
that?
Machine Gun Kelly.
Who's Harry Styles?
Harry Styles is a singer in one of those One Direction or something like that. One of these like stupid boy bands. And Howard has a fascination with him, which borders a little bit on homosexual, I'm not going to lie. And they've replayed that, I don't know, like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. And this is what he's trying to change the narrative now. He's trying to change it to what he thinks he wants to be. So let me play a little bit more of the resigning, and then we're going to go back to some.
Wait 1 second. I know you mentioned Artie. I spoke to someone very close to Artie. He's doing well. He's not in Florida like the rumors say, but he's doing well. That's all I'll say. But he's doing good.
This is good to know. I'm kind of almost having a feeling about who you may have talked to, but this is actually good news.
I heard a rumor he was in Florida, so I was going to try and get in touch with him and have him come to my movie theater and do like a private screening of any movie he wanted and dick around. And then he's not in Florida. But he's doing good.
Okay, that's really, really good to hear. Thank you for sharing that with me. So, you know, we do like a monthly thing. It's like month 6 where we haven't heard from Artie, which I always said, you know, you always think of Artie as being such the ultimate attention whore when he is fucked up and when he is sick and he's like, I promise you guys, I'm not going to let you down. And, you know, we all in the Twitterverse community are like, oh, you know, we're here for you, Artie, or you'll have the opposite effect where it's like, well, fuck you, Artie. I'm so tired of supporting you. And, you know, you're always disappointing us and stuff like that. And, you know, he tended to feed off of that as being part of the attention and or adulation that he needed at that time. And
you know, the guy,
yeah,
his heart is as big as his addiction. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I really do wish he had a horrible addiction, a lot of demons, but his heart is just as big. And I do wish him the best. And if that means staying out of the limelight and just being happy and you know what I mean? And just living quietly, and good for him. Whatever makes him happy, I'm glad for him.
Oh my God, 100% agreed. As long as he, you know, has enough money to get to the end of the day, which was always one of my main concerns with what was going on with him. You know, he immediately went back on the road, you know, as soon as he got out of his like drug jail or whatever it is. And that's exactly the wrong thing to do. You know, you're running into all of these like sycophantic assholes who want to give you anything that you want to take. And, you know, it goes back down into that slippery, horrible road of addiction. So if he's actually staying out, I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, he's a blue collar guy at heart. So I don't think he'd have a problem, you know, just taking a job somewhere. Like there needs to be a comedy witness protection program where these guys who fuck up can just go somewhere like, you know, Asheville, North Carolina, or someplace that's a nice little town and just get a good job and just be out of the limelight. And if you walk by, you say to yourself, hey, that looks like Artie, but it can't because it's in Asheville, North Carolina.
Well, you're exactly right.
And he just has a good life, you know, like that's what you want. You need like a witness protection program type.
But can he have that life? You know, can an Artie live that life? That's the thing. Can he just
he had it before the fame.
Yeah, but he's had fame more than he's not. So he's kind of a hard guy to walk past, especially with that nose, and not know that it's Artie.
True, but he's seen the trappings of the fame. You know what I mean? And he's dealt with it a lot. He's had a lot of chances to redeem himself. So maybe it's at the point now where he's like, you know, fuck it. I'm just not gonna. It's better off to just not.
He had to have hit rock bottom. You know, there had to be like some sort of, you know, come to Jesus moment for him that made this happen.
I hope he hit that bottom, because any lower would just be death. You know what I mean? So I really hope, in a good way, I hope he hit that bottom and had a come to God moment.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let me play a little bit more of this.
Well, you bring up a topic that I feel strange about. You know, I don't want to say what's going down here, but I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I don't have any new contract. And I'm done here, and so is Robin. We're all under the same kind of time frame. We've got, I think, till the first 2 weeks in December, and then we're done.
December, yeah.
And I don't really know what's going to be. I'm going to be honest. I still enjoy doing the show. I told you, as long as Robin was alive and wasn't with that fucking cancer.
Actually, I died several years ago. I haven't told him yet.
You know, thank God she beat cancer so I could continue working. And no, but in all seriousness, I'm going to be frank with you. I don't know what's going to happen.
You know, by the way, here's like clues to the way people talk. Whenever you say, I'm going to be honest with you in all seriousness.
I was just going to say the same thing. Okay. When you say I'm going to be honest with you, pretty much not.
Pretty much not. Pretty much not. You know exactly what the fuck is going on. So you're completely lying to us about what's happening.
I think, honestly, I think he knew this was going to be his last contract, and the birthday show was his hurrah.
But the birthday show was so long ago. Like,
I mean, but he's got he needs the attention and adulation. You don't think there'd be a big thing in the works right now, a goodbye party?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, we're already in the middle of September, almost bordering on October. How is it that he's going to have a couple more weeks off? He's got Thanksgiving coming, and, it barely works 3 weeks out of every month anyway. So where does that come in? Like, when he was leaving K-Rock to go to Sirius, I mean, the whole show for 6 fucking months was a commercial for Come to Sirius. Well, that's what it became. That's what it became because they came down on him. But that he would talk about it kind of like ad nauseum. I mean, it was just insanity. I couldn't even listen to the show anymore. It was just a promotion for that. And we all ran there with him because we wanted to hear him be able to say the fuck word. Or Artie, be his natural self or whatever it was. But now, according to the rumor mills, which we're going to go back to right this second, a lot of it is about what's going to happen to him for going forward. So let's go through some of this. Howard is done after this year and has told most of his employees, but the people who Sirius employs will be put to work in different aspects. Not sure that that's true, though, by the way. Sal and Richard are in talks for their own show. So what's your thinking on that?
I think 5-10 years ago, that would have been great. When the show was at its craziest, they would have been great. But I don't think Howard would have allowed that to happen because it would have taken away thunder from him.
Oh my God, of course. That would never happen. That wouldn't happen with most people that are on that show. It's not like they are there to be anything other than pawns to his show. I mean, he's put the kibosh on so many people doing something else or being involved in acting or talk shows or whatever.
And have Sal and Richard been on the air a lot lately? You would think if they were having their own show, there would be some sort of build up to that by giving them a lot of, on-air attention and on-air shtick to build up to a show.
Yeah, I don't know. And I just don't feel like they have enough of their own thoughts and personality. I mean, they've been, muted almost completely. But, doing funny phone calls isn't exactly something that makes for a job. I mean, I remember back to when they had, Getting John's Job. And, although Sal was like incredibly hysterical, I think I was told by somebody who was on the show that they had already hired the people who were going to get John's job. And so whatever they did on air was just bullshit.
Okay, I could be honest about that. I have no idea about that. When they're doing radio contests like that involve a lot of money or involve even like Win Fred's money, legally they can't be fixed. They can't be rigged.
Really?
Yeah. People I know used to say Win Fred's money was rigged. When there's money involved and sponsorships and all that shit, it's 100% on the up and up. They can't fuck around with that stuff. If you do, you're really putting everything in jeopardy.
That's interesting because, during the like getting, but something like that, like Getting John's Job, can't that be, considering the fact that everybody that was there to vie for his job was somebody that we already knew and had already been on the air and already, was kind of like a part of the show. You know, Richard used to call in. Sal was always, you know, just busting Gary's ass. I mean, a lot of people that were there were already in the business or doing something towards business. No?
I mean, yeah, well, Yucko had his thing going. He had the Damn Show, which was, you know, like touring in colleges and all that stuff in the South.
Mm-hmm.
And he parlayed that into something great. What he, you know, with Brickleberry and Paradise PD and all that stuff.
Oh,
I love Roger. He's a good friend, and I keep in touch with him all the time. I keep in touch with how his family's doing. So I'm really happy for him. Who else was part of that? Oh, Cabby, you know.
Cabby.
And I think they brought in people that they actually knew, because I don't think they would trust some lunatics off the street to have access to Howard in the studio and be privy to, you know, inside information.
But do you think they already had a winner before they even promoted that show?
No. And I feel terrible saying this, but like, okay. I don't care at this point anymore. Like, for Sal's Get John's Job.
Yeah.
I came up with four of his 5 ideas.
Sal was fucking hysterical for Get John's Job.
Pin the tail on the buoy. That was my idea. He didn't know who to interview, so I said, dude, roll the dice and see if you can interview Beth.
Really?
He did, yeah. I forget what the other 2 were. I think he brought in his Uncle Sal, or whatever his name was, Uncle.
Yeah.
But yeah, those ideas are mine. And we had emails back and forth for like 3 weeks on what he should do, how to do it, he even had he was planning a party if he see, it wasn't definitely fixed, because he was having a party planned if he won. So it wasn't like, I'm going to have a party when I get this job. He was planning a party if he won.
So wait a second. Why would you even be part of his like sphere for, you know, shooting ideas back and forth with? Like, why?
Him as a fan, him and I would email each other all the time about just crazy shit to do. Like the lighting of the teeth, he would email me and say, you know, dude, I'm going to be outside the studio tomorrow with a bunch of teeth outside and and a bunch of things. He was, you know, in contact with everybody. He was, and we all loved talking with him because he was nuts. You know, and if you knew, like, if you needed something done, Sal, go fuck with this. Go fuck with Gary about this. He would call in the next day and do it.
So did they actually win money for winning Sal's his job?
They were given I don't know if it was an actual contract, but it was I think it was like they said $100,000 or something, like $100,000 job or something. And I have an email where I was promised $25,000 if he won the job.
Wow, he should have thrown you a bone, did he?
No, because he didn't win. So I even look. I mean, in hindsight, right now, I'm like, fuck, you got a job, give me money. But no, he didn't win, so I don't deserve a penny. He didn't win.
Well, he didn't win, but he did win. I mean, because here he is, like 20 years later, he still has a fucking job, which I don't think is transferable to any other job in America. Like, I don't kind of really get what a lot of these guys can do. I mean, going back to the stupid rumor thing that, you know, serious employees will be put to work in different aspects. It's like, how many people does a Sirius need, especially during the time of COVID? How many of those like 60 or 70 people that he has in the back office could possibly be utilized for other shows that are ostensibly music with a DJ, or, you know, political talk shows, or, you know, shows about like topics that people are kind of interested in? Like, I'm not sure how that would work.
I'm not going to beat around the bush. Sal's a talent. Sal's a talented guy.
Absolutely.
He is. He's a jack of all trades. He's a lounge act. He's a psycho comic. He's there's no line for him that he won't cross. He's a talented guy, and he's a lot of fun. He could find something. Say to you, Richard, who's that heavy metal guy that DJs on Sirius that everybody thinks is gay, but he's not?
Oh, right. What the hell is that?
I feel bad saying everybody thinks he's gay, but everybody used to. But his wife is smoking hot, so he's not gay. But I'm like, Richard could host metal shows, or like, Richard's insanely talented too. I mean, especially with his music, holy shit, he's talented. So like they're both very talented guys, and I think they'll land in the entertainment business in somewhere. Like on TV right now, on on Apple TV, there's like a million apps. Richard could have his own horror app and music and horror show and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So like, there's those two guys. I think will land on their feet probably better than anybody.
What about JD?
I haven't spoken to JD in so goddamn long. When he got engaged, I sent him a message saying, "Hey, I heard you got engaged," and he just wrote back TY. I assume
really.
Thank you. So ever since then, I was like, okay, good for you. You made your message, so I don't.
I am fascinated by him. So there was this whole conversation the other day on the Stern Show with JD. They were basically picking on him, and apparently during that incredibly fateful trip to California that they all had, what they were trying to do was kind of a bit, but kind of not, where they were going to set him up with Ted Sarandos, who runs Netflix, as well as is it James Gunn? And like two other people, so that JD could pitch to them and tell them the ideas that he has in his little fucking Asperger-driven brain. And apparently Ted had to cancel it kind of last minute. So JD started talking about how he went to a party and he asked some other people at the party exactly what does a pitch meeting entail. And it's like, dude, you just had the fucking opportunity to pitch to Ted Sarandos, the head of Netflix, and you wait until you get out to California to even thinking about what a pitch meeting is, and then not to follow up with it at all and say, because anybody who really wants to be in that business is going to use anything they can, that's available to them to get that meeting. And yet he didn't care. He's just like,
Netflix will buy anything.
Any fucking thing. I have an idea. I'm dying to pitch to fucking Netflix. I literally would slaughter baby fucking swans to have a pitch meeting with Ted Sarandos. And so what he was basically told is that it's called an elevator pitch. So it's really just kind of big idea, get it out there and see if it's something that even would spark an interest. And then it goes into a full board pitch meeting. And JD just basically didn't care. Like he has no thought about what his life is going to be like when Howard leaves. He's already in his 40s. He's got nothing else. I mean, he pulls fucking clips for a living. So what does a JD do?
Maybe he was, I know Howard is very fond of him.
I know. Why?
Maybe he's just like he was told, like, hey, listen, for as long as I'm alive, you'll have some job with me along the line, or Kimmel or one of those other, Howard sycophant celebrities, who love the show. They may have approached him and said, I'll take care of you when it's all over.
Yeah, so he doesn't worry about it. He basically sits at home, plays Madden.
And that's true. Good for him. Good. If you can have that kind of life, if someone offers it to you, take it.
Believe me, I'm totally for, riding that surfboard until it comes to fucking crashing to shore. You just fucking ride the wave for as long as you humanly can. I get that. I just feel like a lot of them don't really have a place in this world. If the only job they've ever known is being with Howard. He's not the arbiter of how a business actually should be run. Hence the reason Marcy even came into being, because he couldn't fucking run it himself.
When I was working there, let's say for like I was there like 17 years or whatever. The first half of it, you're thinking, oh my God, this is going to open up every single door for me. This is the greatest. And then when it's all over, you realize, no, because you haven't been anywhere else. You haven't done anything. I couldn't go get a job at Oprah or Sesame Street or you know what I mean, or a news channel, because for 17 years it was plugging in the Sibian and doing dick jokes and all that shit.
Yeah, so
you're pigeonholed almost.
Right, you're pigeonholed.
If you play baseball for 18 years, you're not going to get hired to be a quarterback on a football team, even though it's a sport. It's under the sport umbrella. That's why right now I'm doing what I'm doing. Like I'm not relying on anybody. I'm not going to wait for somebody to offer me a job. I'm not going to. It's all on me. I want to make things happen for myself.
Yeah, you're kind of like the Shelley Long of Howard TV. Like you can't really do.
And I mean, I had that come to God moment where, oh my God, what am I going to do? I got a family, and then I said, I don't ever want to rely on somebody else. you know? So that's why you make things like right now I have a show idea that's driving me crazy and I'm writing a deck and I'm doing everything for it. And I got a pitch meeting I don't want to run it. I'm just going to create it, sell it, not even for a ton of money, just sell it, get it out, you know, so I can get the thought out of my head and go back to the restaurant again. You know what I mean?
I would really love your help with that at some point because I have an idea for a show that is so fucking phenomenal and, you know, not necessarily topical in the time of COVID, but just I think, you know, something that women my age would completely appreciate. I'm going to throw it past you when we're done with this show, but
I'll tell you one thing to do right now. Lock down every fucking possible domain name and email address pertaining to that show. If you have a name for it, buy the domain name. Buy every fucking thing possible for it so no one can screw you over and you're proof that you had the idea first.
Oh, I love it. Great idea. All right, I'm going to move on a little bit. Howard has already signed a deal with another company to do a David Letterman type interview show for 10 episodes.
If it's just I believe it. If it's because I'm knowing him the way I did, I'm sure the success of the Letterman interview show probably drove him crazy because people did love it. And Letterman had some huge guests on it. I think Howard was even on
he was.
one of them. So, and he'd be good at that. He really, when he gives a shit and it's just a sit down one-on-one, he's good at that stuff, you know? But is it going to be just a fluff thing where if he has Ellen on, is he not going to address the controversy? Then you know,
I don't know who he could possibly interview that I'd be interested in hearing him interview.
Well, let's see. Adam Levine.
I'm thinking like Tom Cruise, Mick Jagger, you know, people that are really fucking megastars that would never give him the time of day as a radio guy.
But a lot of people do know him and still remember him as being an incredible interviewer. You know, when he was the sharpest, there was no better interviewer. You know,
Richie, with all due respect, not another single show out there, other than maybe the show Barbara Walters used to do before the Oscars, actually gives somebody the amount of time that he demands you give him so that he can get into the things that he wants to get into. You know, nobody else gives you an hour. Colbert, you're not going to go on the Late Show and get more than like 15 minutes to sell whatever it is that you're peddling. You know, nobody has that format.
That's why Rogan is so successful. It's a 2 to 3 hour just free form conversation where it's everything and anything. And that's why that show is so successful. And when I started listening to Rogan years ago, when he first did his podcast, I was like, this is great. It's 3 hours of just bullshitting. And you get to be a fly on the wall of a conversation.
Yeah, I think it's phenomenal. What do you think about him though moving to Texas and that being not quite that conducive to having guests on?
For $100 million, I don't think he gives a shit.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck too. Yeah, and that's like a no tax state, so you know there's a very good reason.
I used to listen to Rogan all the time, but I kind of like stopped, not because politics or whatever shit. It was always the same It was always the same recurring guests. And then I got into other podcasts from the people that he would have on. So that Joey Diaz guy.
Yeah.
But if Joe Rogan had on, let's say, Mark Maron, then he would be on the Joey Diaz show. Then he'd be on the Brian Callen show. So it would be the same guest just in that cycle. And I just got bored of listening to the same people just being popped on each show over and over. So I just walked away from, listening to all those.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with him now because Spotify apparently is like demanding that they have some sort of creative control over what he puts out there. He had to apologize last week. Yeah. Did you see that? About basically disinformation about Antifa or whatever the fuck he was talking about.
I saw his mea culpa thing, and I heard Spotify wants to either put disclaimers or edit shows now, or employees are demanding it.
Yeah, I don't see how that works out.
Which is kind of bullshit because if they offered him that deal in the first place without that, it's bullshit.
Yeah,
let him just say what he wants because that's what you hired him for.
Yeah, and that's the reason he left YouTube. I mean, YouTube started to, sanction some of his shows, and he's like, dudes, I bring you millions of fucking listeners. I bring you millions of views. You make millions of dollars in advertising from me. How is it now you decide that you're going to sanction my fucking show?
Yeah,
You know? Copyright infringements, everything. You know, and they didn't care. It's like the algorithm. They're like, well, fuck you. They don't care. You know,
it's shitty. And Spotify employees, if they cared and if they were so offended by what he says, they should have brought that up and raised a stink before he got hired.
Dude, you know what you're getting. You know what you're getting.
Don't do it a week after you hired the guy. You know what I mean? That's fucked up.
Yeah, same thing's going to happen with a Howard. If you know, the other rumor was that Howard was going to Spotify and he was going to do 45 shows a year, and they would all be basically interview-driven shows. So, you know, I'm not necessarily sure Howard is really set up to do that kind of show and do it well without his support group, if you will, behind him.
And here's the thing: Rogan takes an actual care about every guest he has on. He studies up. He listens to everything they say. He engages in the conversation. Like, he doesn't just bring somebody in he doesn't know and just tries to freeform a conversation. Like Rogan, he's read up on every single guest. So he knows what he's doing. He knows the questions. He'll call bullshit on somebody. I don't know if Howard will do that.
Yeah, he's watched the movie.
Or if Howard have the attention span. Or the attention span, you know, he's admitted he doesn't have a big attention span for things. Well, can he sit there for 3 hours and listen to, you know, Graham Hancock talk about, you know, ancient civilizations discovered in Turkey? No. I don't think so. But Rogan does, and Rogan makes it interesting.
Elon Musk, you know, smoking a joint with him and talking about, you know, the future of SpaceX. I mean, just amazing things like that make it compelling radio and compelling to listen to. And I'm not necessarily sure that Howard, first of all, he's a fucking boomer, so he doesn't really have that that in-touchness that you need, or the zeitgeist that you need in order to propel him forward to new viewers. Fucking Beetlejuice has more listeners and viewers on like TikTok than Howard does. You know,
like Howard used to be able to see. I don't know if he still does. He used to be able to engage you and make you drop your guard, and then hit you with the question you didn't expect, and you would honestly answer, and then that would spiral into something very newsworthy, or that's what would make the interview great. Rogan doesn't set you up and then hit you with the thing. He just relaxes you. You're in a relaxed environment, and you'll just talk about anything, and that's what I liked about it.
Yeah, I feel like for Howard, because he's been in so many years of psychotherapy, he feels that, especially with actors and actresses, which is, of course, whom he loves to have come in, you have to know that, because as a general rule, these people are so insecure with themselves that, of course, they've been in some sort of therapy. So he's able to kind of speak that lingo of, you know, did you have resentment of your mother or your brother because you're more famous than he or she was, and shit like that. And then he kind of taps into some sort of weird psychology that I don't think works anymore, number one.
And telling them to take up chess or photography.
Exactly, and you're a fucking idiot if you eat meat, so go fuck yourself. Yeah,
I mean, like Rogan, I hate hunting. I hate hunting. Not that I hate it, I just don't care about it. I don't give a shit. But he would bring on these bow hunters for 3 hours. I would listen and go, okay, I get it now. After the 3-hour interview, I would get, okay, I get what you do it. I get the science behind it. I get how hard it is. I get you're skinning the thing and you're using everything. And it made me listen to a bow hunter for 3 hours that I would never do before.
I would never do that.
He has that ability to do. He has that ability to do that, which is cool.
So, what do you think of somebody? And you know, I'll wrap this up with this person because I can't fucking stand them more than life itself, and I don't understand how he is able to consistently get work. Well, first off, a Benji, but I'm going to come back to him. But what do you think about like a John Hine, who we just noticed yesterday? He is the voiceover for some show on Destination America about eating in America. And I don't get it. I just don't get the John Hine.
You know the expression, it's great work if you can get it. If he's out there hustling and going on these auditions, can't knock the guy. Like he knows maybe it's coming to an end and he's hustling. Or is he sitting on his ass just, you know, waiting for people to come to him?
He's a buckbold employee and he has all the personality of fucking earwax. So you tell me how somebody like him, when there are actual people with knowledge out there who would never be able to get a job like this. Like never. I don't believe in a John Hine. Like I don't believe in his ability to be anything, other than some droll. I mean, really, his voice is like liquid fucking Ambien. It just makes you want to fall asleep. I think he's a horrible, horrible person.
As a person or as an on-air personality?
As an on-air personality. And he's a bit of a dick too. In his Fast Food Nation book or whatever it was called, he would talk about being completely rude to the rest of the people in the line at any given fast food restaurant and just stand right in front of the cashier until she gave him the food because he wanted to make absolutely sure that what she gave him was the correct order, and he doesn't give a rat's ass about anybody behind him. Oh, and P.S. he eats everything plain with nothing on it, just a plain burger with bread. So how does somebody like that get to write a book? And how does somebody like that get to be a sportscaster for the New York local teams in baseball? And how does he get these things? I just don't get him.
So obviously, some people do get him. You know what I mean? Some people, that's the only way I can describe it. Like, he may not be your cup of tea, but he's somebody's cup of tea, and they're hiring him. So good for him. If he's still getting work, and if he's making plans for the future after Howard leaves, good for him.
I heard a story about him once that he got suspended. Do you know anything about that?
I heard that story too. This was, oh Christ, a long time ago, but I did hear a story about that. Somebody, like, this was in the era of the leaks getting out. This was back then when all those leaks were getting out. Somebody who, I don't know where they currently sit now, but who sat 5 feet away from Gary, that's all I'll say, told somebody not to tell anybody, and that person told me. That's how it always works.
Mm-hmm.
That he got suspended for allowing a call or something to go through on the wrap-up show, and Mary McCormick or somebody was livid and called Howard screaming, and this was when Marcy first started there, so she flexed her muscle and like took him off the air for a few days or something like that. That was their punishment, to take away airtime.
So what kind of call do you think went through? Like, what would be so offensive that it would dictate a suspension?
Let me rack this brain. Okay. Somebody, I don't know, I can't remember her name. Mary McCormick's husband was cheating with somebody, and that person called in. And Mary McCormick was livid that person was allowed on the air.
The woman.
Yeah, from what I remember. And then as like retribution, he was just like pulled off the air for allowing the phone call to be on the air or something like that, for not cutting it off or for not changing the subject or something stupid.
Grillo will tell you that he firmly believes that Howard and Mary McCormick had an affair during private parts, and that she was one of his conquests in the pre-Mad Tear days.
That's interesting. I never thought that.
Me neither. I don't. Well,
especially when the whole movie is about a love letter to your wife, I wouldn't think that.
Yeah, but he was already moving out of his
That's a good point.
in Long Island while he was filming this thing. He was already making plans for the apartment in the city. When this was
really going interesting. Instead of going to Spotify, make a sequel.
Oh my God, totally make a sequel.
That would be interesting. Make a sequel.
Did you know that it actually is, or is it just about to come out on Blu-ray? like this month, I think it's coming out on Blu-ray with nothing extra. Like, I have no idea why it's even coming out. He's not even doing like a director's cut or anything like that, or any discussion about it. Nothing extra.
I mean, everything's going to Blu-ray now, so might as well just jump on the bandwagon, because there are those people there are fans who will want the VHS, the DVD, the Laserdisc, and the Blu-ray.
Really?
There are those people out there. Yeah. Oh yeah. There are those fans that want it. When the soundtrack came out, there were like 4 or 5 different covers. I knew people who bought every fucking cover of that soundtrack.
Really? Yeah, I say I would never do that. I have less than zero interest in collectibles like that.
That's just it. If you want to have a room full of like trinkets and dust collectors and that's your thing, okay, and they made money off it. The soundtrack sold a lot, and that's a good way to sell the soundtrack. Make each cover different. Okay, so then and back then, don't forget, that's when there was 20 million listeners a day or 18. Even if a portion of those people went out and bought 4 CDs each at $15 a pop, that's a shitload of money.
Well, that gives me another question I wanted to ask you about really quickly. So when you guys were doing like Howard TV, so were you actually in charge of E-show or on demand? It was on demand, right?
Yeah, I was there from E and then on demand. Yeah.
So talk to me really quickly about on demand, because aren't those like at the peak of on demand, how many viewers do you think that he had for that type of show?
It's like the KKK and the mafia. Numbers weren't given out. I think.
Really?
Yeah. I think the only one that really knew was Doug, maybe Ganji, and the higher ups at In Demand and Howard and Buchwald and all that. But numbers were never given out. I remember on the last day of In Demand though, they took a swipe at Howard, and I think it was fucked up what they did. I think In Demand pulled out a shitty thing. I'm sorry for bending over. I'm rubbing my dog. When it ended, they put out like a letter or a statement saying we'd like to thank the few thousand fans who signed up or something like that. And that was a shitty swipe. I remember that little advertisement they put out, or like the thousands of fans that joined, and that was messed up. You didn't have to like take a dig, or
I think
maybe it wasn't a dig.
Yeah, I think
maybe it wasn't a dig. Maybe it was just like a slight where they just didn't read it through and think maybe it was going to be a little messed up, but I don't know. I wouldn't have said it that way.
I just feel like that Howard is never accountable for numbers. You know what I mean? He makes like a shit ton of money, and there's no accountability for how many people he's really pulling in. So it's kind of curious to me with like a Jim Meyer leaving or stepping down, and a couple of people off of the board stepping down. I was told that it's because they're buying iHeartRadio, and then that's going to bring a whole new realm of people into the fold, and they wanted to have representation in the hierarchy of Sirius management, so that they had to make a couple of moves. And I also kind of heard that Jim Meyer was probably one of the only people that was really for a re-signing of the contract with Howard, and basically would give him whatever the fuck he wants as long as they have him on the air. But that other people are like, no, my dude, we don't really need Howard anymore, especially if they sign up iHeart and they have something like the Breakfast Club with Charlemagne the God, and things like that are a little bit more forward-looking and have interesting guests and really actually run a true show, as opposed to...
So the CEO stepped down?
Oh my God, yeah, you didn't know this? Yeah.
No, I don't follow any of that shit anymore.
Jim Meyer was like forced into retirement. The guy that's right below him is also leaving, and I think he's going onto the board. Some people on the board left as of like last week, and the person
forced into retirement. Is there a scandal, or not that we know of, or
not that we know of yet? But I'm sure some shit is going to be coming down the pike. And then there's a woman who's going to be in charge now, who is in charge of like digital development or something like that right now. So she's
forced into retirement does not sound good. Or unless you just made really bad business decisions and the board is like, listen, you got to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of it might come down to, negotiations with Howard and wanting to give this man another like $90 million or even $75 million, and then saying, is it worth it anymore? Like, is this the type of show that we want to have, where, you have 70 people that we're paying who essentially do, I don't know what they do actually, but, that are all working for Sirius. And why do we need this anymore? Especially when we have all of his old shows that we can play. And that's what people really like anyway.
Unless there's some like...
They started closing off the Twitter comments on certain shows now. Yes. They don't
Exactly.
want.
That's funny.
They don't want the negative comments, so they treat him like a boy in a plastic bubble. He's like the emperor with new clothes, and they just allow him to go on, without having a thought whatsoever about what the future might hold. So I think everybody's fucking freaking out. I'm told that Shuli made a couple of phone calls when he moved down to Alabama, saying, if there's anything that comes up, kind of, keep me in your thoughts, because I'm really going to need something come the next year. So I think they all think this now.
The only thing I could think of is maybe like there's some clandestine backroom, thing with Howard and Jim. Like Jim's going to go somewhere, and Howard will go with him. In 6 months, an announcement will be made after he gets his. You know what I mean? Like if this Jim guy goes to, hypothetical Netflix to take over, then in 6 months he brings Howard with him, and then something like that.
Like Mel Karmazin did, kind of.
Exactly. That's basically it. Yeah. So he's the new Mel, maybe.
I guess.
And they have some agreement or some business plan down the road that they're going to work together in some form down the road.
Yeah, because he just kept constantly mentioning how much he liked Jim. He knows nothing about this new woman. They don't really have anything on the table. And then Robin was kind of lamenting how, they didn't get to have their goodbye shows. And what are they going to do about that?
Well, here's another telling thing. Did they bring in the new woman to interview? Because normally that would happen. Bring in the new person, sit her down, unless she doesn't want airtime. But normally, they bring in the new person to introduce them.
You talk about the new woman who's going to be in charge? No.
Yeah. Okay.
No, nothing has been happening.
Kind of telling.
Kind of telling. So
you would think bring her in if she's a fan. If she's a fan of the show, bring her in, introduce her, tell her plan for the future and all this stuff.
Yeah, I think everybody's freaking out. I think everybody's freaking out in the back office. I think everybody feels like they may go the way of the wind, and I think that the general feeling is that Howard will definitely leave at the end of the contract. Who knows? I mean, he just could be fucking with us completely. But
true. I'm going to say something stupid, and people are probably going to be mad. Well, everything I say is stupid, but if Howard retires, and people are like, "Do you think Howard will give them more than $1 million?" I hope he does. Good. They stuck with him long enough. If they lasted this long, not the guys who have been there for like 5 years.
Yeah.
But like the Wills, the Jasons, the guys that have been there since
20+ years.
And stuff like that. Give them some. Take care of them. They deserve it. They deserve. It's a severance that's it's not gonna last them forever. $1 million does not last long. People think, I could retire off it. It does not last long. Trust me. But it's give them something. I wouldn't give a shit. I'd be glad for them. Even though I don't talk to those guys or anything, I'd be glad for them. Good. You guys deserve it. You guys stayed there all these years, busted your ass. You guys were there from the golden years and the dark ages. Pay them. They deserve something.
Yeah, I agree with you. Well, on that note, I guess we'll wrap up. And yeah, is there anything else we wanted to bring up? No, I think that's kind of it.
I don't know. You'll text me later and tell me.
I'm sure I will.
But I'm serious. Thank you for having me on. And I've been asked to do like battle chats. Like some girl from Battle Chat sent me a video message to be on her show. I'm not going to be on her show. I do yours. I do Gorillo's. I do John's because I know you guys. Like you and I developed a friendship off podcasting and webcasting and all that shit. You know what I mean? Through mutual friends, you and I became friends. Yeah. And you're not this ball buster, vicious person that people will say online about you. You're fun as shit to be around. You're quick witted, and we talk about other things besides the show. Like we were having a conversation before this about real estate and a lot of other things. So I enjoy doing it. I enjoy talking to you. I enjoy doing Grillo's show. I enjoy doing John's show because you're old friends of mine. I worked with those two guys, and I've known them for over 20 years.
I know.
I enjoy you guys.
I know, and I'm happy to have you as my friend, Richie, and I really mean that sincerely. And I think you're an incredibly fun, funny, smart, asshole kind of guy, and I love that about you. It's everything I look for in him.
Yeah. I'm the perfect asshole package.
All right, so thanks for doing this with me. I'm going to end broadcasting now, and I'll do a little ending for it. But thank you so much
My pleasure.
for being here with me. All right, here we go.